Hey, good morning, everybody. It is Thursday, April 16th. I hope you guys are having a great day. I've got miniature Sven over here. We are having a great day. So, today is Thursday, which means it's a group chat day. So, at 10 o'clock, hopefully, I'll see you on Google Hangouts. We'll just use our classroom hangout that I set up. I'll be on there at 10 o'clock, and I hope I see you there. Couple reminders, just general things for the day. Keep looking at IXL. Keep working on those. Miss Sommerfeld posted them. I posted them. Take a look at the IXL things. Head on up for free lunch or breakfast, 1 to 11 up at the high school. Please let me know if you have any questions. I love hearing from you guys, so keep those coming in and stay home and stay safe. Let's take a look at the academic side of things. So, Prodigy, keep doing that. Some of you guys are doing a great job. 15, 20 minutes a day. Take a look at those math IXL standards that I posted on Monday. And there is a Kahoot up. I did test it. Some people are having problems. Try it again because it really should be working now. So if you have issues, try that Kahoot out. Reading, we've got AR. Keep up those books. If you need to read something on Epic, just make sure it's a tester. And IXL, like I said, Miss Sommerfeld posted those. Social studies. So big announcement. I'll post another video today, but it revolves around Socrative. So right before our shutdown, we were supposed to have Representative Romaine Quinn come in. I did speak with him via email, and he is going to answer some of the questions that we had created right before the shutdown. So Romaine Quinn will hopefully get together and do some sort of video for us. Senator Bewley, who is right here, was also supposed to be coming actually on Monday. She was scheduled to come on Monday to school. So she is also going to put together a video answering your questions. However, I don't have questions for her. So I need you guys to come up with some questions or come up with a good question for Senator Bewley. She is our state senator. I have a social studies video that you can check out that talks about that a little bit. But she is our state senator, and she wants. We'll do a video answering any questions you guys have about being a state senator. And so you should put that together and answer the Socrative question. The Socrative question is posted. Take a look at that. Think of a really good question that you can put forth, and she may or may not answer it. So you have that opportunity. FIED, music, art guidance, all of those. Take a look at that in guidance, and please answer those questions. So take a look at those or do whatever links they have for you. The City of Ember is the story that we're reading. Nice giant light bulb here. Talk an awful lot about light bulbs. I left off halfway through a chapter. So here's our map. And mostly now we are at Lena's home, which is over here. And we'll kind of continue. So she found, this is part of it. She found the instructions here. They have some instructions, but she can't read it because Poppy had kind of started eating it. So we've got this mysterious note that she feels are from the builders, but she doesn't know what to do with it. Her boss didn't think anything of it. So we'll maybe learn a little bit more. So after talking to her boss, I'll go here. Lena took advantage of her day off to go to the supply depot to see Lizzie Briscoe. Lizzie was quick and smart. She might have some good ideas. At the supply depot, crowds of shoppers stood in long, disorderly lines that stretched out the door. They pushed and jostled and snapped impatiently at each other. Lena joined them, but they seemed so frantic that they frightened her a little. They must be very sure now that the supplies are running out, she thought, and they're determined to get what they can before it's too late. When she got close to the head of the line, she heard the same conversation several times. Sorry, the clerk would say, when the shopkeeper asked for 10 packets of sewing needles or a dozen drinking glasses or 10 packages of light bulbs. There's a shortage of that item. You can only have one. Or else the clerk would say, sorry, we're out of that entirely. Forever? Forever. Lena knew that it hadn't always been this way. When Ember was a young city, the storerooms were full. They held everything the citizens would want, so much it seemed the supplies would never run out. Lena's grandmother had told her that the school children were given a tour of the storerooms as part of their education. They took the elevator from the street level to the long, curving tunnel with the doors on both sides and other tunnels branched off. Often, the guide led them down the long passages, opening one door after another. This area, he would say, is canned goods. Next, we come to school supplies. And around the bend, we have kitchenware. Next is the carpentry tools. At each door, the children crowded against each other to see. Every room had something different, Granny told Lena. Boxes of toothpaste in one room, bottles of cooking oil, bars of soap, boxes of pills. There were 20 rooms just for vitamin pills. One room was stacked with hundreds of cans of fruit. There was something called pineapple. I remember that one especially. What was pineapple? Asked Lena. It was yellow and sweet, said Granny, with a dreamy look in her eyes. I had it 4 times before we ran out of it. But these tours had been discontinued long before Lena was born. The storerooms people said it was no longer a pleasure to look at. The dusty shelves stood mostly empty now. It was rumored that in some rooms nothing was left at all. A child seeing the room where the powdered milk had been stored, or the rooms that stored bandages or socks or pins or notebooks, or, most of all, dozens of rooms that once held thousands of light bulbs, would not feel, as earlier generations for children had, that Ember was endlessly rich. Today's children, if they were to tour the storerooms, would feel afraid. Thinking of this, Lena waited in line of people at Lizzie's station. When she got to the front, she leaned forward with her elbows on the counter and whispered, "Lizzie, can you meet me after you're through with work? I'll wait for you right outside the door." Lizzie nodded eagerly. At 4 o'clock, Lizzie came trotting out the office door. Lena said to her, "Will you come home with me for a minute? I want to show you something." "Sure," said Lizzie as they walked. Lizzie talked. "My wrist is killing me from writing all day," she said. "You have to write in the tiniest letters to save paper, so I get a terrible cramp in my wrist and my fingers. And people are so rude. Today they were worse than ever. I said to some guy, 'You can't have 15 cans of corn. You can only have 3.' And he said, 'Look, don't tell me that. I saw plenty of cans on Pot Street Market just yesterday.' And I said, 'Well, that's why there aren't so many left today.' And he said, 'Don't be smart with me, Carrot Head.' But what am I supposed to do? I can't make cans of corn out of thin air." They passed through Harkin Square and around the Gathering Hall and down Roving Street, where 3 of the floodlights were out, making a cave of shadow. "Lizzie," said Lena, interrupting the flow of talk, "is it true about the light bulbs?" "Is what true?" "That there aren't many left?" Lizzie shrugged. "I don't know. They hardly ever let us go downstairs into the storerooms. All we see are the reposts of carriers turn in. How many forks in room 1146, how many doorknobs in 3291, how many children's shoes in 2249. But when you see a report for light bulbs, what does it say?" "I never get to see that one," said Lizzie. "That one, and a few other ones like it, like the vitamin report, only a few people can see." "Who?" "Oh, the mayor, of course," and of course old Flabface. Lena looked at her questioningly. "You know, Farlow Batten, the head of the storerooms." "He is so mean, Lena. You would just hate him. He counts us late if we even come in 2 minutes after 8. And he looks over his shoulders as we're writing, which is awful because he has bad breath. And he runs his fingers over what we've been writing and says, 'This work is illegible. That word is illegible. These numbers are illegible.' It's his favorite word, illegible." When they came to Lena Street, Lena ducked her head into the door of yarn shop and said hello to Granny, and then they climbed up the stairs to the apartment. Lizzie was talking about how hard it was to stand up all day, how it had made her knees ache, and how her shoes pinched her feet. She stopped talking long enough to say hello to Eveline Murdo, who was sitting by the window with Poppy in her lap, and then she began again as Lena led her to the bedroom. Lena, where where were where were you when the big blackout came? She asked. But she went right on without waiting for an answer. I wasn't home, luckily, but it was scary, wasn't it? Or I was at home, luckily, but it was scary, wasn't it? Lena nodded. She didn't want to talk about what happened that day. I hate those blackouts, Lizzie went on. People say there are going to be more and more of them, that someday, she stopped, frowned, and started again. Anyway, nothing bad happened to me. After that, I got up and figured out a whole new way to do my hair. It seemed to Lena that Lizzie was like a clock that was wound too tightly and running too fast. She always been a little this way, but today she was even more than ever. Her gaze skipped from one spot to another, her fingers twiddled on the edge of her shirt. She looked paler than usual, too. Her freckles stood out like little smudges of dirt on her nose. Lizzie, said Lena, beckoning towards the table in the corner of the room. I want to show you. But Lizzie wasn't listening. You're so lucky to be a messenger, Lena, she said. Was it fun? I wish I could have been one. I would have been so good at it. My job is so boring. Lena turned and looked at her. Isn't there anything you like about it? Lizzie pursed her lips into a tiny smile and looked sideways at Lena. There's one thing, she said. What? I can't tell you. It's a secret. Oh, said Lena. Then you shouldn't have mentioned it at all, she thought. Maybe. I'll tell you someday, said Lizzie. I don't know. Well, I like my job, Lena said. But what I wanted to talk to you about was what I found yesterday. It's this. She lifted the box away and took up the piece of paper covering the patched together document. Lizzie gave it a quick look. Is that a message someone gave you? It got all torn up? No. It was in her closet. Poppy was chewing on it. That's why it's all torn up. But the writing on it, isn't it strange? Uh-huh, said Lizzie. You know who has beautiful handwriting? Myla Bone. She works for me. You should see it. It's got curly tails and Y's on the G's and the fancy loops and capital letters. Of course, Flav hates it. He says it's illegible. Lena slid the piece of paper back over the pasted down scraps. She wondered why she had thought Lizzie would be interested in what she'd found. She'd always had fun with Lizzie, but their fun was usually with games, hide and seek and tag, the kinds of games you would run and climb. Lizzie never had much interest in anything that was written on paper. Selena put the document back in its place, and she sat down with Lizzie on the floor. She listened and listened until Lizzie's chatter ran down. I'd better go, Lizzie said. It was fun to see you, Lena. I miss you. She stood up. She fluffed her hair. What was it you wanted to show me? Oh, yes, the fancy writing. Really nice. Lucky you to find it. Come and see me again, all right? I get so bored at that office. Lena made a beet soup for dinner and that night, and Poppy spilled hers and made a red lake on the table. Granny stared into her bowl, stirring and stirring the soup with her spoon, but she didn't eat. She didn't feel quite right. She told Lena after a while that she wandered off to bed. Lena cleaned up the kitchen quickly. As soon as her chores were out of the way, she could get back to studying her document. She washed Poppy's clothes. She sewed on buttons that had come off her messenger jacket. She picked up the rags and shags and the boxes and bags that Granny had tossed out of the closet. And by the time she was done all of this and put Poppy to bed, she still had almost half an hour to study the fragments of paper. She sat down at her desk and uncovered the document with her elbows on either side of it and her chin resting in the hands that pored over it. Though Lizzie and Captain Fleary had paid no attention, Lena still thought this torn-up page must be important. Why else would it have been such a cleverly fastened box? Maybe she should show it to the mayor, she thought reluctantly. She didn't like the mayor. She didn't trust him either. But if this document was important to the future of the city, he was the one that should know what to do with it about it. Of course, she couldn't ask the mayor to come to her house. She pictured him puffing up the stairs, squeezing through the door, looking disapprovingly at the clutter of the house, recoiling from Poppy's sticky hands. No, that wouldn't do. She didn't want to take the document. She didn't want to take her carefully patched together document to the gathering hall either. It was just too fragile. The best thing to do, she decided, was to write to the mayor a note. She settled down to do this. She found a fairly unspoiled half piece of paper, and using a plain pencil, she wasn't going to waste her colored ones on the mayor, she wrote, "Dear Mayor Cole, I have discovered a document that was in our closet. It is instructions for something. I believe it is important because it is written on a very old printing. Unfortunately, it got chewed up by my sister, so it is not all there. But you can still read some bits of it, such as, marked with E, find door of, small steel pan. I will show you this document if you want to see it. Sincerely yours, Lena Mayfield Messenger, 34 Quillam Square." She folded the note in half and wrote Mayor Cole on the front. On her way to work next morning, she took it to the gathering hall. No one was sitting at the guard's desk, so Lena left the note there, placed it so that the guard would see it when he arrived. Then, feeling as though she had done her duty, she went off to her station. Several days went by, and the messages Lena carried were full of worry and fear. Do you have any extra baby milk? I can't find it at the store. Have you heard of what they're saying about the generator? We can't come home. We can't come tonight. Grandpa B won't get out of bed. Every day when she got home from work, Lena asked Granny, "Did a message come for me?" But there is nothing. Maybe the mayor hadn't gotten her note. Maybe he'd gotten it and paid no attention. After a week, Lena decided she was tired of waiting. If the mayor wasn't interested in what she'd found, too bad for him. She was interested. She would figure it out for herself. Twice during the week, when Poppy and Granny were both asleep, she'd had a little free time. She'd spent this time making a copy of the document in case anything happened to the fragile original. It had taken her a long time. She used one of her few remaining pieces of paper, an old label slightly torn from a can of peas, and the copy was as accurate as she could make it, with the missing bits between the letters carefully indicated as dashes. She had tucked it under the mattress of her bed for safekeeping. Now she finally had a whole free evening. Poppy and Granny were both asleep, and the apartment was tidy. Lena sat down at her table and uncovered the patched-together document. She tied back her hair so it wouldn't keep falling in her face, and she put a piece of paper next to her, blank except for a little of Poppy's scribbling, to write down what she decoded. She started with a title. The first word she'd already figured out. It had to be instructions. The next word could be for, then came Eagers, which wasn't sure about that. Maybe it was someone's name. Eagersman. Eagerston? Instructions for Eagerston? And then she decided to call it the instructions for short. She went on to the first line. This office doc probably meant this official document, maybe secure and secure or security. And then were the words period and ears and city. But after that there was so much missing. She studied the line next to the number 1 EXP. That would be expect or expert or many things. She moved on to Riv. That might be part of a word like drive or strive, or it could be ip. And what could ip and orc possibly be? They were so close together that maybe they were part of one word. That ended with ip, whip, Lena thought, trip, slip. What ended with orc? Fork came to mind. Immediately, trip, fork, slip, fork. Nothing she could think of made sense. Or maybe it wasn't fork. What else ended in orc? She started looking at the beginning of words in the alphabet. Lena went through all of the words that rhymed with fork. Most of them were nonsense. Bork, dork, gork, hork, jork. This wasn't going any. This wasn't going to work. She thought she miserably. Oh, work. The word could be work. And then what about the first part? Trip work, flip work. But maybe there was a letter missing between the P and the W. Dip work, pips work. Suddenly it came to her. Pipe works. Pipe works. That had to be. Something in this message was about the pipe works. Lena looked back at X and Riv. Riv. That could be river. Rapidly she ran her eyes down the page. In line 3 she saw which looked like riverbank, and the word door jumped out at her from line 4. Hole on its scrap of paper. Lena took a quick breath. A door. What if it was the one she'd wished for? The one that led to the other city. Maybe her city was real after all, and all these instructions were for finding it. She wanted to leap from her chair and shout. The message had something to do with the river, a door, and the pipeworks. And who did she know that knew about the pipeworks? Dune, of course. She pictured his thin, serious face and his eyes looking out searchingly from beneath his dark eyebrows. She pictured how he used to bend over his work at school, holding his pencil in a hard grip, and how during free time he was usually off by himself in a corner studying a moth or a worm or a taken apart clock. That was one thing, at least, she liked about Dune. He was curious. He paid attention to things. And he cared about things, too. She remembered how he'd been on assignment day, so furious at the mayor, so eager to trade his good job for a bad one so that he could help save the city. And he'd taken Poppy inside his father's shop on the day of the blackout so that he wouldn't be afraid. Why, he'd even stopped being friends. Why had she stopped being friends with Dune? She vaguely recalled the incident of the light pole. It seemed silly now and so long ago. The more she thought about Dune, the more it seemed he was the very person, the only person, who might be interested in what she had found. She placed the plain sheet of paper over the instructions and put it in a box on top. I'll go find Dune, she thought. Tomorrow was Thursday, their day off. She would find him tomorrow and ask him for his help. And that is the end of the chapter. We will take a look at that tomorrow. We'll find out if Lena gets a hold of Dune and what Dune thinks of it. So, take a look at your materials. If you have any questions, let me know. Answer that Socrative question so we can get those out to Senator Bewley. And hopefully I'll see you guys at 10 o'clock today. Have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.